Hey guys, how's it going? Caleb Bandies with Process Outdoors. Today, we're going to be talking about sharpening broadheads, something that I've tried to perfect over the past years. But the biggest, most important thing is I'm not dealing with these things anymore this year. So, what was it? 2 days ago, Wyatt and Waylon and I went out on Waylon's first whitetail hunt, and I shot at a doe at 50 and clean missed her. She was already ducked and turned by the time the arrow got to her. So today I'm going to take us through how to sharpen a broadhead. And the very first tool that you need, well, before we even get to that, hit the intro. All right, so I'm all jacked up on coffee. It's about 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and was just at the Hawkeye game last night, and they beat Penn State, so we hit the field. It was an awesome game. Anyways, here we're sharpening broadheads, getting ready for this week. It's supposed to be colder weather in Iowa, so got to get this bad boy sharp. I did switch to heavier cut-on contact broadheads this year for FOC reasons. If you're interested in FOC, we do have a video on that, so go to our page, check it out. But this one in particular, gonna get it sharper. So I hit the dirt, skipped around, and it's not cutting hair. So we want to get it there. So first tool you need is actually a broadhead jig. I'm not gonna claim to be an absolute expert like your buddy Ranch Fairy or anything. So rely heavily on the jig. This is a KME Broadhead Sharpening Jig. It's about $90, which I had to dig it out from my old traditional bow stuff. I used to shoot traditional bow quite a bit, but this is well worth it, right? I can't tell you how many dollars I spent on these guys. I think you all know what broadhead this is, where you'd miss, you'd shoot it in the dirt, and you're not going to replace these blades. I mean, you're going to replace the blades. You're not gonna sharpen these up. This broadhead is going to last me a long time. So, as long as I have this. So, should be a good savings in the long run for this. So, I have the KME sharpening jig. I have a bunch of different grits of sandpaper. So, I got 60, which we're going to reset the edge with the 60. And then we're going to work our way down. So, I think this doesn't say what this is, but it's definitely a lot smoother than the 60. I'd probably put it at a 200. So I got a 200 and an 800 and 1,000, 2,000. Then I have a leather strop. It's just leather. And I actually found that using the backside of a notebook on the cardboard gets it hair popping sharp. So we'll go through that. I got a GoPro right here in front of me, which you can probably see on camera, and I'm going to be taking you through how to get it sharpened here in front of me. So, sure to be exciting. So, I'm going to take the jig apart and loosen it up, and we're going to be putting the blade in between the jig here. But first, I need to get the blade off of the broadhead itself. So, it's just a little screw, and it unscrews here, right here. And excuse the shaky hands. Like I said, I've been drinking coffee all morning long. So, get this guy screw taken out and remove the blade. And one thing I did before I even started the video, which you're going to need to do, is take a permanent marker here and actually darken the edges so you know what surface you're taking off. So I'll reapply here, but right on the edges. And I've already done that because I was going to sharpen these, and I thought to myself, well, shit, I should be filming this. So we're going to do that. So you put it in the jig itself, and always point to point here. Line it up with what it should be like if it was actually on the broadhead. So right along the line here. And then we're going to take it and, this jig is a little misaligned here. There we go. We're going to take it, we're going to sharpen it, or we're going to tighten it before we sharpen it. And be careful because you're dealing with a sharp broadhead. So it's in the jig right now. You can see here on the GoPro that it's on there. And what we're going to do is we're going to push it into the jig, put the jig together, and now we have this surface. So 60 grit sandpaper is the first thing we're going to go through, and it is the goal here is to not really sharpen it, but to reset the edge. So this is the factory edge on here, and it doesn't match the edge that's on this KME sharpener, and so we're going to be essentially resetting it. So I'm going to do, I always pull the broadhead across, because I feel like I've seen people push it before, but I feel like if you're pushing it, then it's going to be like pushing the sandpaper up and ruining that edge. So I always pull, and the goal here is going to be to take off all the black and create a new edge. So let's give it a shot. So you can see it's definitely taken some broadhead off, but it's just hitting the edge right by the cutting surface, so we need to take more off. I'll probably do about 20 strokes this time, see how it turns out. So it's taking off a bit more. It's still not taking 100% of the black off. So we're going to give it about 20 more strokes, and then I'll flip it over. It does look like it's consistent though, fairly consistent around the edge, from where it's cutting into the black, probably more so here toward the end. But all right, I'd say that's pretty good. We have reset our edge effectively, and one of the cool things about this jig is you don't have to put it back in. You can just rotate it around like so. So we're gonna hit this other side, and right now this is about as dull as can be because we've started a new edge and the edges aren't lining up, but we'll use this, stay consistent. That was about 30 strokes, and we can see that we are still taking material off of the black there. So I'm going to give it a few more, and it should end up looking a little bit more similar to that. So look at all that. You can see you can feel the burr on it, and you can see all the material we're taking off. So we've taken off a good bit of material, and we've reset the edge. So now that it is reset, and we know that what we're doing with our jig is going to be reflective throughout the different grits, now we're actually going to be sharpening it. So we're going to toss the 60 grit, clean off our surface a little bit, and we're going to go to the 200. And one thing to keep in mind when you start the actual sharpening process is you're gonna want to worry about pressure. So I spent a lot of time trying to get this stuff sharpened, and it just wasn't working, and it's because I was putting too much or too little pressure on. So as we go through the different grits, we'll reduce the pressure that we're putting on it, pressure on the jig itself. So do about 10, and then we're going to flip it around and do 10 on the other side. And then what I like to do is I like to work my way down to where it's just 1 and 1 on each side. And so I'll do 10 on one side, 10 on the other side, and then 5 on one side, 5 on the other side, and then I'll go 1, 1, 1, 1. And essentially what that's doing is it's when you sharpen it, it's creating a burr. And so when you sharpen the other side, you're knocking that burr off, and that's what actually creates that edge. So as you're sharpening, you can kind of feel, yeah, like on this side here. So we obviously we set the edge with this side, and it's nice and smooth. if I run my finger, here, I'll show it on this camera, if I run my finger that way, but this way I can feel the burr on it. So what you want to do is you want to constantly be knocking that burr off, and then finally when you get to your leather strap or a piece of notebook paper, it'll knock it off completely, and that's when you get your razor sharp edge. So we'll work on this one for a few. 10. 10. Now I'll switch to 5. And now I'm going to go to 1s so we can keep that burr flip-flopping as we're getting sharper and sharper as we go. You can actually hear the difference on the sandpaper, which is very interesting when you're doing this one because you're working that burr back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so I can feel it starting to get a little sharper, and I can definitely see we're taking material off consistently on it. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna move to 800 grain, or 800 grit, not grain. That'd be a hell of a broadhead. So we're gonna do the same thing. 10, 5, 1, 1, 1, 1. And again, this is higher grit sandpaper, and so I'm going to use less pressure. That way I'm not flexing the blade or anything like that. 5. 5. And then a bunch of 1s. 1, flip it. 1, flip it. One thing to note on these KME jigs is this wheel. Put some oil or something on it. I obviously haven't, and the noise drives me crazy. So if you get one of these jigs, definitely do that. Right now, we're putting up with it. So do about 5 to 10 on each side when you're flipping back and forth. Again, we're just working that burr on it. And now we'll give it a check. So you can definitely feel it. It's definitely getting sharper than what it was. I doubt that it's hair cutting just yet. Oh, she's getting there. Definitely cut some hair, but we can do better. This is only 800 grit, and we got all the way to a notebook paper to go. So we're going to repeat the process with 1,000, 2,000, and then we'll hit the notebook, and we'll be popping hair, and she'll be sharp, and we'll put her back together, go out, and seek vengeance on that dough. So let's see it. Let's knock it out. Let's get this bad boy sharp. Definitely feel the difference. Now we're going to go to 2,000 grit, which you're wondering where you get the sandpaper. I got them from AutoZone, just your normal car store. So this grit sandpaper, I guess, is used for car detailing and stuff like that. So that's where I got it a long time ago, and I got a big pile of them over here. They're pretty cheap. You don't need to get online and buy any crazy sharpening stone or anything like that. Sandpaper is your tip. So we're gonna next. Okay, should be popping some hair at this point, and it is, but need to throw it on the notebook to get it really, really, really sharp. So, final step, bring out a notebook, and that's going to be the end of the process. So, I just run it a bunch of times through here, This is kind of your final buffering. And the same process, 10, 10 on each side, 5 and 5 on each side, and then 1, 1, 1, 1. And that should eliminate the burr completely. And again, if you run your finger along the broadhead, you can definitely feel that burr either being there or not being there. If it is there, then what I like to do is just work 1, 1, 1 until it's gone. So that is the broadhead. You can still see that there's some of the factory edge on it. There's still some black, but given the angle of this, it is taking off enough to create a really nice edge, and I do not feel a burr on either side of this. So no burr. And when you run your finger across it, it doesn't feel sharp. And that's because there's no burr on it. Usually when people run their finger on something and they're like, oh yeah, that's sharp, it's because they're feeling the burr, so they think that it's sharp. But what you want is an edge completely without the burr. So we'll take it and final test it. And that, I don't know if you can see, but there's my hair. Damn, I lost a bunch of arm hair playing with broadheads. You know when I've been sharpening broadheads because I got a big chunk of hair missing. So she's sharp. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the jig, flip it around, and we'll hit the other side, and I'm going to put it on an arrow and go seek vengeance after that doe. So I've actually used to sharpen broadheads a lot. I used to shoot trad, and of course using 2 blades for that. These are Muzzy 200 grain Muzzy Phantoms, and I actually had sharpened these myself before I went on a moose hunt years ago, and ended up shooting a moose at about 35 yards, and it clean passed through, never found the arrow, deadly sharp broadhead. Then another guy in camp, actually, his bow got lost in the airlines, and he took my bow and shot a moose, and the arrow passed through, kept on sailing as well, same broadheads, deadly sharp. That is definitely a factor. So not only is it good to touch up your broadheads and get them deadly sharp, but it's also a huge cost saving. So I bought 6 broadheads this year, 6 of these guys, and I already had this jig, but the jig's $90. So what is that? 40, 90, do the math, $170, right? 180, 90, yeah, 170. You buy 3 packs of these guys, that's what, 40 a piece? 3 times 4, 120. You buy 4 packs of these over the next 3 years, and you've already outspent on this. So highly encourage everyone to take a look at 2 blades that you can sharpen yourself and get yourself some sort of sharpening jig. And I also sharpen knives and stuff with it too. So it's a good thing, and encourage everyone to give it a shot and learn a little bit more. So if you guys find this stuff educational, or you like the content we're putting out, we'll be putting out even more content throughout the year. Again, we have multiple people in the field, and we actually just had a doe go down from one of our youth members. So it's getting exciting, and November's right around the corner. So feel free to subscribe to our page or click the notification bell if you want to see more content like this. And try your hand at sharpening broadheads, or try your hand at doing a little bit extra to make your arrow deadly, be it increase FOC, or choose a different cut-on contact head as opposed to something like this thing. So everyone get out there, get your kids out in the outdoors. It's been great October weather, but also don't overpressure your parcels, and let's get ready for November. See ya.